Hello, my gorgeous soapsters. So we're back again, and we're going to do a fabulous facial soap here, and it's going to have activated charcoal and kaolin clay in it. Really nice soap. But I wanted to investigate a thing that I saw online, and I just wanted to kind of see whether I can put a rest to a myth. So the statement is that you cannot let lye sit around for more than 24 hours before you got to use it, or you can't leave it more than a week, and it won't be any good, and it won't do what you need, and all of those things around. So the lye that I'm using here has been sitting around for around about 4 to 6 weeks in this container. Now it has been sealed in a with a lid on it, so it hasn't been open to the elements, and it has been just in this container. What we're going to do is see whether this 4 to 6 week old lye will still make a soap and whether it is still usable. Now, some people will say that you can't use it because you're evaporating the water off of it. Technically, sodium hydroxide will draw water to it. So if anything is going to happen to this lye, it will have become weaker over time. Now, for me, it won't have become that weak, in my opinion, and it will still produce a soap that will harden quite well. But we're going to give it a test. I'm not just going to assume. I'm going to put my money where my mouth is. And this is the thing. A lot of people will say something that they do this, that, or the other. That's fine. But I'm going to put it to the test here, and we're going to see if we can produce a fantastic soap here. Now, because this is master batched, it's 1-to-1 water to lye. I'm going to have to add a little bit of additional water into it, which I'm doing here. Now, I use these little pump action tops because they are far easier to use. And we're just going to, now I did get a touch of lye just on my skin now. I've given it a quick spray and I've wiped it off. That's why you wear long sleeves under these circumstances. But I don't, because I tend to knock things over with the sleeves, hence why my sleeves are rolled up. So I'm going to add some water here, and the action of adding the water to the master batch lye solution will cause a slight exothermic reaction. So you are going to find that your lye solution will increase in temperature, even though you're not adding the lye into the water and creating that exothermic reaction. The additional water added into this solution will raise the temperature. It'll bring it up to around about 50 degrees. So if you are using a master batch, be aware you are going to get a slight temperature increase. So what I'm going to do here, I'm going to give this a quick look, and we've got a 20 degrees on my main master batch lye solution, 20 degrees C, and on my one here that I've added the water to, we have 45. So the temperature, by just adding room temperature water to the lye solution, has increased the temperature. So you don't necessarily have to worry about increasing your lye temperature when you have a master batch lye solution, because the adding of the water will do that automatically for you. Whereas if you have made up your batch and let it cool and you want to try and warm it, that's a whole faff. So we're going to add our oils in here. Now, this is going to be very heavy on the palm oil. This is almost 3/4 palm oil. Now, I know a lot of people have issues with palm oil. This is responsibly sourced, and it is from farmers where it's done in the right way. Palm oil is always going to be around. I feel that as long as I can do something that goes back to the farmers and not into large corporations, I'd rather do that. So this is a responsibly sourced palm oil. The thing with palm oil that you need to bear in mind is that different parts of it will melt at different temperatures. And what you really need to do is melt the entire batch and then put it into separate cans that can be melted separately. So your palm oil can always have the full range of fatty acid profiles within it, which is what I've done here. We're also going to add coconut oil, some grapeseed oil, and some castor oil. Not grapeseed oil, it is actually sunflower oil. This is a 4-oil recipe, and I will leave a description of this recipe down below should you wish to use it. But again, it's palm. If you don't want to use the palm oil, you can substitute with cocoa butter, but it will make it quite expensive, and you do run the risk of it becoming quite brittle. So do bear that in mind if you are going to substitute. And as always, please run your recipes through Soap Calc before going ahead with making it. because sometimes we can get the amounts wrong in our writing downs, and we don't want to be responsible for you wasting your oil. So make sure you put everything through soap calc before you start making the soap. So here's my olive oil. Okay, there's a little bit of olive oil in there as well. I think it's about 4%. It might be less than that. It might just be 2%. We're then going to add some sunflower oil in and our castor oil. So the 5 oils in here is palm oil and coconut oil, olive oil, sunflower oil, and olive oil. Olive, castor, and sunflower. There we go. So you can see it's quite heavy on the solid oils. Now, my brain will go, okay, I've got lots of solid oils in here. There is going to be a need to soak this cooler. However, palm oil can create a false trace. So under that circumstance, I need to actually soap at a slightly higher temperature because I don't want that palm oil to false trace on me. Because of those hard oils and soaping slightly hotter, it is going to trace quicker, and therefore I'm going to have to adjust the design. Now, I was going to go for a nice kind of striated design using a kind of a side pour down the side of the mold to build up layers of the different colors. However, because of our palm oil and stuff like that and the temperature that we need to soap at, we might have to change that up, and it may be just kind of a glob and chopstick swirl sort of affair. So you just see in the bottom of the screen there that I've brought in some kaolin clay. Now, kaolin clay is wonderful for kind of facial soaps and things like that because it's used in face masks, and it's a wonderful ingredient to have in soap anyway. So I'm adding a tablespoon of this in. Now, this is also going to affect the trace. Clays will pull moisture into them, and therefore adding the clay is going to add to that acceleration of the batter. So I'm going to pop this into here, give it a quick stir, and then I'm just going to bring my stick blender in here, grab some of those big bits, and then burp the stick blender. We burp the stick blender to remove any air, to stop too much air going into the soap and creating bubbling when we go to cut it. So what I'm going to do is just stick blend my kaolin clay into the batter here. As you can see, that's what we're just doing. And the idea behind this is that we just get rid of any of those clumps. So the kaolin clay is going to be in both the activated charcoal side of things and the white side of things. So the charcoal is not going to go through everything. Charcoal can stain walls and things like that. So if you are using it, be very careful. And again, I'm going to go with roughly a tablespoon's worth of activated charcoal. And what I will do is I will mix that into some oils before I make the full batter up, just because then it's not quite so fly away and feisty, and you're not fighting with it. It will stir in rather than have to be stick blended in. And as I think this is going to accelerate, I want to do it that way round rather than doing it with a stick blender and making things really thick. So that's 3 teaspoons or 1 tablespoon of my activated charcoal. We're looking around about kind of 15 grams for each one of those. And then you can see how it gets everywhere. It's all over the gloves, all over everywhere. Pour a little bit of my batch oils into the activated charcoal, grab a spatula, and then we're just going to stir that through without it kind of puffing up and going everywhere. And this is a really good way of just being able to kind of incorporate these kind of fluffy powder colorings and additives into a soap without them going everywhere. If you're in the UK and you are adhering to a cosmetic chemist regulation, so you've got a recipe, you need to use your batch oils, but there's nothing stopping you using other oils if you are not in the UK or you're not intended to sell them in the UK or the rest of the world. You can just add some additional oils. So here we go. I've got my lye solution. I've got my oils. Now I'm going to check the temperatures. I want them within 10 degrees of one another. So my oils are at about 50 degrees and I'm at 40 degrees on my lye solution. I do want to drop that down a little bit. So we give it a little bit of a weight, and we're now down to 45 on the oils and 35 on my lye solution. We're quite good on that one. That's hopefully going to stop our palm oil from giving me a false trace, but it is going to be cool enough that I'm not going to get too mad in acceleration. Now, the acceleration wasn't too bad. I did add some fragrance oil into this called a zombie sherbet, which is a really kind of fruity, sherbety smell. Um, and that I think has also accelerated the tracing in this as well. So we add our lye solution in here. Now I'm pouring down the shaft of the stick blender in order to avoid adding too much air into my batter here. So that's the reason I'm pouring down the shaft of the blender. I'm going to give this a quick stir. And at this point I thought, yeah, I think we are going to go quite fast here. So let's just give this a quick stir with my stick blender, give it a burp so that we haven't got too much air in there. And then we're going to give it some short, sharp bursts with the stick blender and then a little bit of a stir. So short bursts here to bring it together. So you can see there, and this is the magic of it. It just kind of comes together. And that really has reached trace in that really short amount of time. This is only a 500 gram bar. So you can see there, we're getting no separation. That has come together really quickly. So the timer starts now. We need to kind of crack on with this and really get going and get this working. So I'm going to give it a quick stir. I'm just checking again that we do have trace, and I have got trace. We haven't got a false trace. This has gone snap quick. So let's get this separated. So here is our fragrance oil. This is Zombie Sherbet from Fizz Whiz, I think it is. I'll show you here in a second. There we go. Sherbet Zombie fragrance oil from Fizz Whiz. Lovely fragrance, but I believe it did accelerate the trace. Although looking at that one there, I think the trace was already on its way. So we're going to give this a quick stick blend through just to make sure that we're not going to get any pockets of fragrance oil. Now, this is a natural bar with natural colorants. Why am I using a fragrance oil? Well, actually, I tend to use fragrance oils in bars that are natural because I can control the allergens within them. And actually, I can use allergen-free fragrance oils in this, whereas if I'm using essential oils, which sound more natural, they still have allergens in them that can affect people. So if you do find that you have an allergy to essential oils or soaps that use essential oils, it is the essential oils that are giving you that. And what you want to try and do is use a fragrance oil with no allergens in it. And you'll find the allergens listed on the label in the UK, because that's part of the legal requirement in the UK to use, to sell soap. It must have the allergens listed. So what we've got here, you can see this is really starting to thicken up. I'm not going to get nice feathery lines out of this. So what we're going to just do is turn on our heel, and we're going to do kind of a globby, plonk it in, give it a bit of a chopstick swirl through it and see what we get. So this is part of the fun of soaping. A lot of people will get stressed that they couldn't do it and it didn't go the way that you have to be a little bit more flexible when soaping, particularly if using a fragrance oil you've never used before or a different recipe. You need to kind of go with it. You need to see what it does first of all. And once you understand what that recipe does, if you like it, you adjust your designs to take into account that recipe. You don't try and make a recipe do something it's not really going to let you do. So you can see here, this is really thickened up. I've kept it at an angle because I kind of want this to push it around without being too kind of overly globby. I do want to try and get some striping through here, which is why I've got a little bit of an angle going on. And we're just plonking this in, and we want to get as much of this into our mold as we can. So you can see here, let's just pop this down, give it a bit of a bang, and we're just going to get the rest of this kind of plonked in the same side. And see what we get. So this is one of the fun bits of doing soaps like this. It's a facial bar. So I want a little bit of a design in there, but it doesn't need to be anything too hard or anything like that. This sort of batter is brilliant if you want to do scraped layers, because it's setting up and it's holding its shape. This is absolutely wonderful for doing scraped layers with. So you can always give that a go. And then what we'll do is just scrape out our jugs here so we can get every last ounce of this fabulous soap out. And with oils being so expensive, you do want to try and get as much scraped out as you can and into your molds. We're going to try and avoid soda ash on this, and the way to do that is to make sure that you're covering it with something. So you can put some cling film or saran wrap over the top of it, and then put a piece of cardboard over the top. Just reduce the amount of headspace in your mold to reduce the amount of oxygen that the lye that's in situ in the soap can react with, because this is still not fully saponified. There is still active lye going on, turning your oils into soap. And if you give it lots of oxygen to get on the top of that bar, that's where you're going to get your soda ash from. So if you can minimize the amount of space between the top of the soap and the air above it, you're going to reduce your soda ash. And this is a chopstick swirl. We just go into the mold, we give it a swirl in one direction, we turn the mold around, and then we give it a swirl in the other. So we should get a lovely black and white soap. Once we cut this open, we'll see what we get. That is a simple chopstick swirl. It's really easy to do. It's a great beginner design. It just gives you a little bit more interest. And that there is why we wear goggles. Because when you're tapping it down, you can get things fly out like that. And if it hits your eye, it can blind you. Wear goggles. I don't necessarily wear long sleeves, and I take the risk that I may get it on my arms, but I do make sure that I wipe it off as soon as I can. And I find that on the skin, as long as you get it off with some water, I don't have too much of a reaction to it. In your eyes, it will blind you. Make sure you wear goggles or glasses. Thank you for your listening to my TED talk. So just giving it a little bit of a texture on the top there, which you'll see when we come to cut it. And we'll go for the cut right now. And here we are with the cut. Now, I thought I would just very quickly, for those people that use these kind of molds, what you need to do is release the pressure in them. So what you want to do is really give it a nice, good kind of open. So you're getting the air right the way through, push it right down. And then as you push the base, which you can't see at the minute. So we're just pushing the base there to release it. And then it should just slide out of these beautifully. Now, because this is a high, hard oil soap, you can see that the edges there are really nice and crisp. There's a little indentation on the side, just there, but nothing horrific. And it's a really nice hard bar. And as this saponifies and goes through cure, it will get harder. And it's just a really nice bar of soap. So let's give this a cut and see what we get. So I'm going to use my single bar cutter here. I've got it all set up for about 1.25 inches on my bars, which I think is a really nice size for them to hold in your hand. Now, I needed to tighten this up a little bit. So I've gotten to the bottom here. I hold it and then just push the wire underneath to push it through, and I'll tighten that in a second. But look at those interesting swirls and stuff we've got through that bar. And that's a really simple technique. Anyone can do it. And I think what we need to what we need to remember about soap is it should be fun, and simplicity can be beautiful. You don't have to over-egg it. You don't have to spend hours on a soap. You can make really beautiful looking soaps with minimal palettes and simple techniques that come out looking amazing. And I'm really pleased with this. I've got some really beautiful striations through there. Absolutely love it. If you've enjoyed this video, please click subscribe, and why not click the bell icon to get notified when a video is uploaded. It really helps me grow, and it helps me make more videos for all of you. Until next time, soapsters, have a great day, and I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.